Ladies and gentlemen, Chase Elliott is out of the playoffs.
Chase Elliott is going to make it, and he's going to make it on points.
Fourth place finish here at Daytona. Chase Elliott will not make the 2023 playoffs.
In 2016, he made it in as a rookie. In 2017, he made it in and went all the way to the round of 8. In 2018, he made the round of 8 again, and then in 2019, only the round of 8. In 2020, he broke through to the Final Four and stole a championship from Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick. Mickey Mouse champion. He also made it into the Final Four in 21 and 22, but in 21 he'd lost to Kyle Larson after being just slow, and he got chastained in 22.
Hey there, folks. Thank you so much again for joining us for another episode of NASCAR Cup Dates. This weekend we found ourselves at Daytona, and this race was utterly stellar. This is the kind of bang you want to go out with going into the playoffs. I cannot be more excited to finally get to see one of my favorite drivers win at Daytona. I've never had it, man. Watching Mark Martin grow up, boy was I disappointed when he got inched out by Kevin Harvick. Then of course here I'm watching Carl Edwards, and he loses to Trevor Bayne. I know this wasn't the 500, but this race as a just on principle means a lot to me, and I hope it meant a lot to you because the on-track product I could not be more excited about. But without further ado, we got a lot to talk about going into the playoffs, so hey, let's get to it.
Coming into this race, there was an open playoff spot for 17 drivers to make their way into the final spot. Bubba Wallace currently held it. You can imagine what people were like. Ty Gibbs and Daniel Suarez could point their way in, and everybody else had to win. But do you know what was more beautiful about this? It was Daytona. This had been the regular season finale since 2021. Every year it has been one of the best races of the season, and tonight was no different. Stage 1 went green, and Truex and Hamlin both collected stage points, although Truex won the stage and edged closer to the regular season championship. It was kind of close. When Truex won the stage, it was kind of just like watching the Hulk start to fight a 3-year-old. You knew what was happening. It was obvious who was going to win. It was like the speedway races that we had in the 90s and the early 2000s. 3-wide action, huge runs coming, cars were unsettled, although saying about the 90s and the 1000s doesn't always mean it was for the best. We had one crash where Ryan Blaney hit the wall head on, and Blaney Preece flipped 11 times and was transported to the hospital right after.
So as we all know, one of the most notorious events that you ever see at a superspeedway race is the big one. And this weekend, the big one was not even the worst one. We started off with Ryan Blaney in a very, very commanding position up front, gets a little bump, gets a little sideways, and ends up hitting the wall at a very, very notorious spot in a very, very bad angle. But Safer Barrier did its job. Ryan got out, a little bit shaken, but he's okay. A little bit later on down the road, we find ourselves with another Ryan Preece, battling for position in the middle of the pack on the backstretch. After getting turned, gets sideways, gets on the infield, and gets airborne, corkscrew spinning a reported 12 times. I sat there utterly just distraught after watching that. I thought that I watched another driver unfortunately pass. Thank God he did not. I'm so happy that both the Ryans are okay after what we just witnessed. That only really goes to show just how much of an improvement these cars have made in terms of safety in the span of a year. They still hit hard, but NASCAR, you can see easily how much effort they are putting into the driver's safety after all the reported events of, hey, these cars hit hard. And both drivers walked away a little bit shaken up, but they're still with us. That is a win in and of itself, a bigger win than the 17 getting it done. I could not there's nothing better than seeing both these men saying, okay, let's get ready for the next one.
The race came down to Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, and RFK. Now, as they were lining up, it was Harvick, Chase on the inside, because we all remember 2021.
Just want to wish them a merry off-season and a happy Christmas.
Ooh, you're hard showing off.
RFK on the outside, because why wouldn't the teammates push each other? You had two guys happily push each other to the win, and you have two that would happily push each other over the edge of Niagara Falls for a line and a packet of Cheetos. Chase needed to make his way into the playoffs. Harvick was already in. He's just doing this for shits and gigs. So I don't know. Have they ever missed two? Oh, they have. They have. In 2016, they missed two open playoff spots. Well, it's bringing me great joy to say that he didn't make it in. Brad and Chris just powered their way forward, and Brad, the owner, pushed Chris Buescher to his third win this season. So now the playoffs are set. We have William Byron, Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Brad Keselowski, Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Bubba Wallace. And another big thing that I almost forgot was that Stuart Haas are looking to sell their charters, and 2311 is looking to buy one. So where does the other one go? More importantly, where does Zane Smith go? Because he was going to be in front row, but they kept Todd Gilliland. So I don't... RFK, maybe? 2311? I heard they're switching to Ford.
Now it's time for Dan's Strong Opinions.
And now we move on to my personal favorite segment of the show, Dan's Strong Opinions. So, what strong opinions do I have for you going into this week? I personally adore the idea of Daytona starting and ending the regular season. This track, to me, obviously, I think is a very special track, and this is where you want to start the season, always. Daytona is square one, but Daytona is such a mad dash that right at the cut line, there is no better track that can just really shake things up, where you almost had Bubba Wallace get knocked out from somebody maybe like a Ty Dillon, who was running up front a lot of this race. To have him just spoil the whole show, that would have been incredible and was entirely possible. I think that this whole idea of moving Daytona from its July point to where it currently is now is a tremendous move. It'll always be sentimental for like the firecracker style events that we always used to have in the past, but what it is now, I think, is perfect for the sport. I want it to stay as it is. These are my opinions. I'm sticking to them. So it looks like this week I got myself first dibs on picking the driver going into Darlington. So when we're doing a track like Darlington, of course I have to look at experience. This is a very, very unique and complex track, so I have to go with a veteran in this regard. But I also want to pick somebody who has the least amount to lose and the most amount to gain. That being said, I'm going to be picking Kevin Harvick in the number 4 car. I think this man has absolutely nothing to lose right now. This is the peak of his NFG tour, and I think we're about to see classic Kevin Harvick going into the next 10 races. This man has won here 3 times, but also has a staggering 14 top 5 finishes here. Absolutely astronomical amount of quality performances from one driver at one track. I think the number 4 car is who you are going to want to watch out for this weekend, and I honestly am really excited to see what he can do starting his final playoff run, and I want to see the NFG Tour in full swing this weekend.
Okay, well, we are now picking for Darlington, and the driver that I wanted, I use in Pocono. Not great, not amazing, but we move. There is another great driver, and that is Eric Jones, who I just have to throw in there, has the 4th best average of all current drivers. Out of 11 starts, only has 3 finishes outside of the top 20. So, yeah, I'll go for Eric Jones.
And with that, that will wrap up another episode of NASCAR Cup Dates. Starting the playoffs, this one hurts a little bit because I know the season's starting to wind down, and to me it feels like we just started. But 10 races to go. Hey, folks, thank you so much for joining us for the last 26. Please join us for the next 10 and hopefully next season as well. Guys, let us know what you think of the show in the comments down below. I want to hear your strong opinions. Give me a follow on Twitter at CupDatesDan. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about us then and there. Let us know how wrong I am, how right he is. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Please hit us with a comment down below. It really, really helps the channel. Elliot, always a pleasure. You folks, thank you for joining us. Y'all, have a good night.
Cheers.